Well, very good evening. It is Wednesday, January 17th in the year of 2024, episode number 138 of Material Issues. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records here in icy, chilly South Jersey, joined as always by the balmy and comfortably warm and numb Mr. David Bash of the International Pop Overthrow Festival. David, good evening. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing okay. Yeah, always numb. There's no doubt about that. Um,
Yeah,
and
comfortably numb.
not so balmy. Well, I mean, it's all
Comparatively
relative, of
speaking,
course,
yes.
but it's
Yeah.
it's, it's only in the high 50s here today. I
Oh
know,
God.
only right.
Yeah.
Like you,
That's twice as high as it is here.
no, I know. I mean, there's been cold weather virtually everywhere. I mean, Florida seems okay, but the rest of the country, it's been cold, relatively cold, and
I don't mind
sometimes
it.
bitterly cold.
I enjoy four seasons, and we haven't had snow here. They tell us in almost or a little over 2 years of any kind of
What?
accumulation. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
two
okay.
years. Yeah, of anything.
Oh,
We've had
oh,
like little
of any significance, right?
dustings that didn't really make anything white. But yeah, it's been 2 years since we've had any kind of snow. This is not the most comfortable of snows because it turned right into freezing weather and turned into ice. But everything is still white for a while.
Maybe the day after tomorrow is coming.
Yeah, we have the love for somebody loves the Four Seasons. Yeah,
I was waiting
see,
for John Borak or John
they're
Jordan to
there's
play
a Jersey band. You should love the Four Seasons, right? Just like I love the Four Seasons. But
Remember the day after tomorrow?
the day after tomorrow, yeah, the where everything was covered in snow.
That early appearance of Emmy Rossum, she was
Oh,
banging.
yeah, that's before Shameless, and then everything went crazy after that. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think we discussed one of my favorite ridiculous things about that movie is when the guys are running back to the library room where they're all sequestered, and they just barely beat the freeze.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't engulf them, or they don't like beat it significantly. They just barely beat it. Of course, just typical movie fare. I love that. Well,
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. It's a good movie.
no, me neither. But I'll never forget that. That's just so ridiculous. Anyway,
Hey, Andy,
hey
checking in
Andy.
from the UK. How you doing?
Yes, and that Andy's appearance dovetails nicely with what I was about to talk about. This is a really great time of year for me because this is when I invite bands to IPO Liverpool.
Right.
And it's always nice to get acceptances, and I've gotten quite a few so far, including Andy's band, Searching for Sylvia. They accepted. Andy sent me an email this morning saying they were going to play, and it's
Nice.
always great to have them there, as well as so many others.
Hey, Barry.
Hey, Barry, good to see you. So I'm in the middle of that, and we're finding. Good evening, Tim. Rena and I are finding a lot more bands that we were previously unaware of, who would be good candidates for IPO Liverpool.
Right,
a few of them have already accepted my invitation. Only if they find Sylvia's mother. That's who they were looking for.
That's good. But yeah, no, that's what it's all about.
Slice, huh?
Discovering new bands and music and getting it out there. It's great. That's what it's all about. Wow.
Yeah. So I said this is a really good time.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing a black and white paisley shirt. So my watch check today, and this is one I haven't talked about for a while, but I think it's one that if you like watches, you should know about this company. They're called Pagani Design, and this is an homage to the Rolex, the Rolex Explorer 2, and it really looks a lot like the Explorer 2. It's not exact. But on the other hand, this cost me under $100. And
yeah, that's different.
The Explorer 2 goes for about 16 grand right now.
Yeah.
So what would you rather? Well, I mean, what would you rather have? Well, the Rolex, but for the price under $100, this is an amazing deal. Yeah. And because it was so cheap, I've got it in white and also this version. Both of which both of which are available as Explorer 2s, like I said, for about 16 grand. And these are under 100. So you make your choice. But I love. I haven't worn this for a while. I love this watch.
Good stuff, man.
I
Yeah.
think it's going to become a part of the everyday rotation.
The rotation.
Anyway, enough of that. We've got a really great guest
Yeah, we do.
today, and he has a very storied history in this business. He was part of the Beatlemania crew on Broadway that had Marshall Crenshaw in it as well.
It's pretty tight set there. Yeah.
A little bit after that, he had a band on Asylum Records called Helmet Boy. Got a picture of the album right there?
Helmet Boy. We do have a picture of Helmet Boy right here. Where did we stick that? I wanted to see that. Look at that. There's our guest. He's second.
I remember when I first.
Look at that.
I remember when I first got this album, and this is me talking in my head. I looked at the third guy and I said, "Now that's a pop face. This has got to be good." I didn't know what it sounded like, but at that time it was easy to find promotional copies of things, and it was on Asylum, which was a good sign, and it was only $1.99. So I said, I'm taking a chance on this. And
I just love the colors. I love the I don't know what is that? It's almost like a pink ish with the green. It's great. It's just great. It's a great cover.
And it's a really cool record. And so there's that. And then of course he joined Styx and wrote and sang some of their hits. And most recently, he's fronted an awesome band on Gem Records called the Weeklings, who are about to release their fourth studio album called Raspberry Park, which I now realize is a play on Asbury Park. Actually, I was thinking it was a play on Raspberry Beret so I was focusing on the wrong word. But yes, our guest is currently residing in Asbury Park, near where he grew up. And this is a great record. And we'll be playing a couple of tunes from it during the interview. But it's coming out on Gem on Friday on both a CD and vinyl.
Yellow vinyl.
Vinyl is raspberry colored vinyl. I don't know. I don't have it yet.
No, it's yellow. It's a cool yellow vinyl. Yeah.
Oh, is it? It's yellow. I wonder why they didn't do raspberry. It seems like.
Well, you can ask. You can ask them.
Maybe they need to. Yeah, maybe they need to do a second version. Anyway, whatever. Without further ado, would you please give a huge material issues welcome to Mr. Glen Burtnik?
There he is.
I was watching you before we brought you on, and I had a feeling you didn't expect us to talk about Helmet Boy, did you?
Wow.
That's a good record, Glenn.
Wow. I got to tell the other guys from that band. That's wild.
Please do. And if you're thinking of doing a reunion show, I'm up for having it at IPO. I mean, boy, would I be up for that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, stranger things have happened. We put together several bands from that era, and they've ended up playing the festival and then other shows. And at first they would say, "Oh, do we really want to do this? We're old now, blah blah blah." And then they do it, and they had such a great time. It was like, thank you so much for bringing us back together. So anyway, just putting a bug in your ear on that one.
Far out. Wow. Okay.
As if Glenn's not busy enough with everything that he does.
Well, yeah, I know.
Hey,
you gotta start somewhere with the request, right?
Yeah, and speaking of starting, Glenn, you grew up in New Jersey, formative years, so to speak. What led you down the road of music, Lovey? Did you have parents that were musicians or played a lot of things around the house? What turned you on when you were young?
Well, they were music fans, my dad and my mom, but mostly my dad had eclectic taste. So there was a lot of variety in my house. I had two older brothers as well who would bring home whatever the pop records of the time was. And a lot of it really is the era that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
When I mean, the whole Burtnik family sat in the living room and watched the Beatles' first performance on Ed Sullivan, which kicked off, so much in our
Oh yeah.
culture, including making me want to be a drummer when I grew up. And I soon thereafter started taking drum lessons. So you know, that kind of pulled me in. But I think growing up in the 60s, and, the Beatles and Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix, and all of that, um, I think that's why I just didn't really go for anything but music.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that I was born, with any super gift or even in a family that was, all about, you've got to practice your instrument or any of that. I just kind of, I just didn't have enough originality, maybe, or something,
Mm. Yeah,
But
well, which was probably a good thing in many ways. And we've talked to so many artists from the '60s and into the early '70s, and many of it's kind of the same story. They weren't highly trained young. They didn't have like a special gift. It was the environment that they grew up in. It was everything they were listening to in the '60s that just hit a light bulb in their head, and they said, "This is what I want to do and what I'm going to do." And they, you end up making little connections along the way, and somehow it all falls into what they became. And
yeah,
they're all fascinating stories. Yeah.
it's pretty amazing that a lot of those icons are self-taught. The Beatles, all four of them, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix. I mean, now those are the three that I just mentioned. Brian Wilson, he did study a little more in high school, but not that much. And
No, not at all.
so I mean, Bob Dylan came along, and and he didn't even have a great singing voice, but he showed it. Like, there's a quote of his where he said, "I killed Tin Pan Alley," and that's kind of true. It's like all of the old school of songwriters and all of that was just blown away with the Beatles and everything that came after. So we all just kind of figured, well, I can do that,
Yeah.
and it looked great on Ed Sullivan. And so I'll just, figure out these guitar chords, and I'll make up some songs, and I'll be a big rock star.
So
And
what was your first band and when?
Um, the the ultra the ultra reds, maybe, which is like I was the drummer in this band with an accordion, a sax, and a trumpet.
Right.
And then came Creeping Fungus Blues Band, which was about 68, 69. And then there was
creeping
Otto. I mean, I've a million bands, and I continue. This is the story of my life. Like right now, I'm in 7 bands, and it's,
Whoa.
so the list I have to make. You're making me think. I gotta make a list someday of every band that I can remember having been in.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's got to make an appearance on your website. Update your website with all the bands that you've been in. I mean, Creeping Fungus in and of itself. You were worried about Helmet Boy, but Creeping Fungus.
Oh, I've got a couple of your records. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, and now I'm in the Weeklings, which, Little Steven said it's the worst name for the best band in the world. That's what he said to us. And then,
Mm-hmm.
it's a highly controversial bunch of names that, all of the good ones are taken, and, who knows, maybe you'll get a little more, notoriety if you have.
Now, did Helmet Boy have anything to do with circumcision or lack thereof?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Because somebody asked the question seriously. They said, "Why were they called Helmet Boy?" So then we'll back that up. Yeah,
It's ridiculous. Yeah. I didn't name that band, but I was a member, so to speak.
So to speak.
So to speak.
So how did you get connected to Beatlemania and Marshall Crenshaw?
They were the show had been on Broadway for about a year. I wasn't the original cast. There was a guy named Mitch Weissman who was a very much a Paul McCartney lookalike, and so they had this show that was very successful on Broadway, and they were expanding, and they had a show in Chicago. A version of the show was in Broadway, one in the middle of the country in Chicago, and another in LA. And they needed bands for these companies. And basically, there were 2 bands per location because they would switch off. And so Marshall, as well as I, heard about auditions. We each auditioned. I think Marshall sent in a tape. Yeah, I guess like a cassette recording or something. But in any case, and a photo probably. But I went to a rehearsal studio in Manhattan. I was kind of a club musician, but I, grew up with the Beatles, and I'm left-handed.
Yeah.
So I could play bass and guitar and piano. And being left-handed, and my eyes were kind of droopy and bigger, and whatever, I had darker hair, of course, and I was a lot younger. But in any case, so I was like, close enough. This guy is musically pretty solid, and let's hire him. And so as it turned out, the band that Marshall and I were hired for ended up doing LA, San Francisco, and San Diego. And we each did play on Broadway a couple of times, but it was more on the West Coast that we performed. I didn't do it that long. I did it for about a year, but I'm still very good friends with a lot of the guys in that organization, including Marshall. I'm on my 2nd marriage, and I always say Marshall's been to all my marriages. All my weddings, I should say. All my
was David Graham in your?
I knew David. Yeah. He was.
Yeah, he's put out several good records, by the way.
Yeah. He was, a New Yorker, and we would see each other, but we were both Pauls.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's true.
So we didn't really rehearse together much.
How about Les Fradkin?
I knew him. I know, once in a blue moon, there'll be an email or something. He's still around, and he is
still around. Yeah. No, I know him. And in fact, he goes by Les Fradkin, the Jangleholic now. And he actually played my festival one time in LA, which it was great to see him again. But I remember at the time, my friend Jeff and I were driving him in Manhattan, and he said, all right, I got to go to work. And I remember thinking, work? This is Beatlemania. How can that be work? It's got to be. I mean, I'm 19, so what do I know, right? Did you think of it that way, as work, or was it fun, or both, for that matter?
Both. I mean, anytime you have to be someplace at a certain time that you get paid for, that's work.
Sure. Well,
true.
Yeah, but you're doing something you grew up in and loved, and I would imagine early on it had to be just a thrill to be doing this as my work. But like all work, it can get old pretty quick, and night after night of doing that kind of thing. But you get the reaction of the people, and you see how much it means to the people that are there for each individual night, because for them it could be the first time they ever saw that. And a lot of the Beatles tribute bands that have been around for many years, I've known the guys from 1964 forever, and the first time I saw them, when this was 1984, just blew me away. Because I wasn't old enough to see the Beatles live. I was even only 3 years old when they were on Sullivan, so I barely even have a memory of that kind of thing. But bands that really do it well, and as Beatlemania did, just turn people on in a way that's just fantastic.
At the time that you were doing Beatlemania, were you writing songs? Were you jonesing to be a songwriter and have a deal?
Yeah, I always, as soon as I knew 2 chords on the guitar, I wrote a song with 2 chords. I was always making songs, and I still have a lot of the lyrics in notebooks in my basement that I guarantee there are a bunch of crappy songs, but it's the thing. It's like, right, get up to bat enough times and you'll come up with something.
Oh yeah, people we talk to say, I never thought this song was going to be anything. This was not even in my top 20 personally of what I wrote, and it became the biggest thing we ever did. You don't know, but you put it out there.
Being in Beatlemania, well, I had played in, I had played in disco bands and stuff. There was so much music. As soon as I was old enough to play, that go on the road and play in bars and stuff, you'd start, you play what the audience wants to hear. And so you learn a lot of, even if, songs that you don't want to play, songs that you dislike, you still learn. When you have to learn a song, there are tricks, there are little devices that you can pick up from that. But then doing Beatlemania was, for me, I always say that I didn't go to college, I went to Beatlemania, because that particular production was heavy on note for note. They did their best. It wasn't perfect, but it was the first time I really encountered a pressure to hit every note exactly that were on the records, and so that's a great thing to study. It's like the canon of popular music for the 60s. And so I learned a lot about not only playing and singing, but also songwriting. That also kind of helped narrow the job. And then, later on, I've always been a songwriter. For a number of years, I made a living only as a songwriter, writing for other people's records and stuff. And I still, I still do. And I'll tell you, it's all a job. It's all work. And I'm the first guy that starts complaining terribly. But I also realize that I am a very fortunate individual that, playing in rock bands is just like hanging out with the guys, it's and trying to create great music is a beautiful livelihood, a beautiful way to live, which I've managed my entire life to do. So I know I'm really lucky. And the other thing also I believe is when you hold an acoustic guitar against you and you play chords there, it vibrates against your body. And I really am not a spiritual kind of guy at all. However, I'll say that there is something therapeutic maybe about the vibration and harmony of, and the overtones and everything. It's so I consider myself really lucky having grown up in the era that I did. I don't know that kids today, it's such a different world, and their world is digital. And so it's very different. And if I was, like you were saying, I think before you were on the air, but if I was a young man today, my life would go a completely different way.
Yeah. Well, you talk about vibrations. Just take a classic tuning fork, and for those who are too young to know what a tuning fork is, go look it up on Google. But you strike that, just hold it against you, and that sends it all, the vibrations all through your body. And I know what you mean.
Susie Quattro claims she got orgasms on stage from the vibration of her bass, but we don't have to elaborate on that.
Coming up next week on Material Issues, Susie Quattro.
Not quite.
Her bass.
We have Glen Burtnik of the Weeklings here with us, and this is the album coming out in a couple of days, Raspberry Park. Can we play a track right now?
Yeah, let's go. Fire it up, man.
Here's a track called, it's the second track on the album, Like We Used to Do, here on Material Issues. With volume or raise?
I'm your man, come on. And my love is true, I'm your man, come on. I'll build my world around you, I'm your man, come on. I might not be brand new, I'm your man, come on. And when the day is through, I'm your man. Let's do it like we used to do. Yeah, it's alright, it's alright. You know you used to be mine, it's alright, it's alright. We all forget sometimes, it's alright, it's alright. To fall in love again, it's alright, it's alright. Let me be your ball and chain, it's alright. Let's do it like we used to do.
Wow.
This could have been on That Thing You Do soundtrack.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's got that sound. It's so good.
Every day you stop to play when you're on the run. Every night you look away from the setting sun. Every day you be afraid when you're almost done. You walk away
Man, that
from
kicks.
the smoking gun.
Yeah, you two don't leave it alone.
So come on, I'll always follow you. Come on, just like we always knew. Come on, and take this love for you. Come on, before my life is through. Come on, do it like we used to do. We'll make love. Let's do it like we used to do. Do like we used to do. Like we used to do.
Man, that kicks. Wow.
Nice.
Man,
Like we
Glenn-
used to do by the Weeklings on their soon to be released, like in 2 days, Raspberry Park album
Mark.
on Gem Records. Big shout out to Marty Scott and Maureen of Gem for continuing to release great stuff.
Yeah.
Check
Yeah.
this out in a couple of days.
Where'd you record that, Glenn? The production's great. Sounds fantastic.
Actually, a recording studio here in Long Branch, New Jersey, is where we cut the basic tracks, and then a lot of the stuff we each did at home.
Wow.
You know, I'd take the rhythm track home, and I'd record my vocal, and the other guys did the same.
Man, good
Yeah.
stuff. I really, I love the sound of it. You know, the bass just rolls right along in the background there. It's wonderful. Is that you singing? Who's singing lead on that track?
I'm lead on that. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
I see you've got your kitten behind you.
Yeah, Jack's hanging out. Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah, Maureen, Gem Records releasing the Weeklings, Raspberry Park. Can't wait for this one. This is killer. Glenn, you mentioned being grateful for being able to do what you've done in your career, and you talked about writing for others. Sometimes love just ain't enough. Is that? I mean, what a great track that is. Is that probably the highest charting track that you've written?
Yeah, for sure. That was a number one. Yeah, I've had a couple of like I had a number one country song once, the Randy Travis.
Travis. Yeah.
But yeah, the pop song, that was the biggest one, which is Patti Smythe with Don Henley. And the funny thing is that I kind of lifted a song. It was from a song of mine I wrote in high school. The chorus, the music, the melody to the chorus. And when I wrote it in high school, I was emulating like Paul McCartney's first solo album. So there you have it, you know.
Yeah.
How did you get that song to the attention of Patti Smythe's people?
I got together with Patti because her manager at the time was aware of my solo records on A&M. I had a couple of albums on A&M Records as a solo guy, artist, and so her manager got us together, and we sat down, and I wrote that song with Patti for her record, and then she showed it to Don Henley, who sang my part that I was singing with her whenever we would cut a demo, and I was like, great, let Don Henley help this record along, you know. So yeah, so it was just kind of work. I was a songwriter, you know.
Yeah.
But you were also a musician, and going back So Beatlemania, you're done with Beatlemania. Is this when you put together Helmet Boy and tried to get a deal, or how'd that all go?
Well, the first thing, you know, what's funny? I saw the listing for Beatlemania musicians. It was like a classified ad in the Village Voice in the back,
Yeah.
and so after Beatlemania, I was reading the Village Voice, and there was another classified ad that Jan Hammer was looking for
Oh
a
wow!
rhythm keyboard player, a lead singer. So, and he's a guy that was from Mahavishnu Orchestra, and later he did all the Miami Vice music. But
Mhm.
anyway, at the time, he was kind of attempting some kind of pop career, and he wasn't much of a singer. So I got another gig from the Village Voice, and so we recorded an album called Hammer on Electra Asylum. And it came and went. It didn't really do anything. And then a friend of mine who had been in Beatlemania, David Leon, he had been a John Lennon in Beatlemania. He had this group Helmet Boy that got a record deal. This was just in the wake of the Knack, when power pop bands from Los Angeles were sought after, you know. So being from the East Coast, I flew out to LA, jumped in, wrote the single, sang lead on some tracks, and that was Helmet Boy, which also came and went on Electra Asylum Records.
Interesting thing. This is purely coincidence, but our guests next week are members of the Corgis who were on Asylum at the same time you were. It just kind of worked out that way. I don't know how it worked, how the process worked back then. Did you know those guys?
No,
Okay.
no. And what a different planet it was back then, too.
Mhm.
We're talking about, like, is that 78, 79, 80, 81?
Yeah, around 80 actually. Yeah.
It's a long time.
It's a bit. David and I both collect baseball cards and things, and I just got a full set of an 80 Kellogg's thing in, and I start looking at all the players and the names. It's like, my God, it's been 40, 43, 44 years since this guy was
Crazy.
big. It's like, it's unreal the time that goes by. So enjoy the moment. I have to ask you one quick question as far as just Beatles music and concern, because you were right there in the middle of it. David and I, we know them. We're big fans. Do you recall the band Klaatu?
Sure.
That was supposed to be the Beatles.
Yeah.
Did you have any interest in what they were doing? We were all fascinated with it in the mid '70s, which had to be kind of right in your alley right there, knowing Beatles and things. And
I'm a little older, and to me, the band that really got me as being the Beatles Part 2 were the Bee Gees, early Bee Gees.
Early Bee Gees, yeah.
Like Bee Gees First is still one of my favorite records. It came out in '67.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, they just had this vocal thing. But yeah, I remember Klaatu. Yeah, there were a lot of next Beatles.
Well, they always laugh because they didn't have their names or any information on that first album. That's why everybody thought, well, this is the Beatles. But they said it both made and killed our career all in one fell swoop. And
crazy, yeah.
Similar to the Hudson Brothers, their show made and killed their career. They had put out some really good records, but that show, they lost all credibility with that. As famous as it got them, they lost all credibility as musicians. So, double-edged sword.
How'd you get tied up with the orchestra? I mean, obviously, Beatles-related bands. You want to talk ELO and their great body of work. You did quite a stint with the orchestra. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still playing with them. Like we have gigs coming up in this year. We're going to be in South America. We're also playing Epcot. We play, for like a weekend, like 4 days at Epcot Disney World. But yeah, that's ELO based band, a couple of guys that were original members, and we do that music. In the 90s, I would sing jingles. I would get calls to be on advertisements in New York studios, New York producers, and I got a call, and I went to the session, and there was a group of singers around a microphone, and I joined them, and we were all singing together. And when we were introduced to each other, the producer said, "This is Eric Troyer. He's with ELO. This is Glen Burtnik. He's with Styx." And we both looked at each other like, "What?" And then we talked about how, and then we commiserated about, how difficult it is being a member of a band that's past their hit prime,
Right.
And,
Yeah.
so we had a lot in common. And anyway, the original bass player of Electric Light Orchestra, Kelly Grocott, was the bass player for the orchestra. And maybe 10 years, maybe 10 years after I met Eric Troyer, who has an amazing career. He sang on, he's on Double Fantasy, John Lennon.
Yeah.
But Eric called me because Kelly passed away suddenly, the bass player from ELO and the orchestra. And so I got that call, and I've been playing with those guys, playing ELO music for, I guess, over 10 years now.
Wow.
And,
Yeah, Kelly Grocott had a really good solo record in the early 80s that people need to check out if you're an ELO fan.
ELO is one of those bands, again, where you're like, oh, I remember that song. Wait, I remember that one. And then the list starts going on. And after a while, you're like, geez, how many really good songs did ELO have? A ton.
Yeah. Jeff Lynne's no wimp. And another way that I'm really fortunate is that when I'm with the orchestra every night, I get to sing Mr. Blue Sky, which I think is about as great a Beatles-ish kind of song as anybody who is not in the Beatles ever made.
I agree. I agree.
It's an awesome song.
I tell people all the time, younger, especially, but my daughter's younger. Matter of fact, my daughter works for Epcot, so I'll have to tell her to go check out the show when you're down there. But ELO is one of those bands that had so many great songs, but in this day and age, a lot of younger people just don't. They're not that familiar with ELO. It doesn't pop up into the general conversation until they start to listen to it. Then it's like, oh my God,
there's songs, the songs still pop up in movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And Mr. Blue Sky, for one, that one really gets a lot of airplay.
Yeah. And you mentioned Styx.
Do you have kids?
Yeah, I got 4 kids. Yeah.
Oh, wow, nice.
All sizes and shapes.
How old are they?
Well, the oldest is 42, and the youngest is 15.
So you are maybe you are a little bit clued in. What do 15-year-old kids think about these days?
Yeah. Well, in working with the Weeklings, like I'm writing songs for the Weeklings, which is a power pop band.
Yeah.
And I'm focused on this world, and I realize that world really has nothing to do with 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
And I put guys on such high pedestals in my mind, but really I think that it's more, there's so many more choices and stuff, but I think boys are more rap and hip hop oriented generally, and girls either are that kind of into dance music or Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But there still are power pop ingredients going on out there, and there are still some very cool young rock bands, but it's just not it's just a new world now.
It's a different world.
Does your son like any of the same kind of thing that you grew up with?
He's more into sports. my 15-year-old. My other three, they all have written songs, have recorded. They've had bands. One has been on tour and stuff, but only one of them now is continuing, and she has her own band, and she's the prime singer-songwriter. But she's also a mother of two, so it's a little hobby, a bit maybe,
What's her band's name?
Darla and the Darlings. And
oh, wow.
She's Darla.
Do they have any music around? Because I'm going to write this down.
That's a good question. I don't think they've really gone properly into the studio, so you might see some live footage on YouTube for Darla.
Oh, okay. No, I'll check them out for sure.
I see. I was looking at the schedule. I want to run this link across the bottom here for the Weeklings.com, just so everybody sees it. That's where everything about what we're talking about and pre-ordering or ordering the CD at this point can happen. But you're going to be in Beacon. Now, I was talking early on before we went on the air. You'll be up in Beacon, New York, playing. And one of the artists on my label, Vivica Sagestad, who, was a Grammy Award winner with the band Weld in Norway. And she's had 3 wonderful solo albums out. She's back to playing live. I think she's played the place that you're going to be at up in Beacon, which is very cool. So I'm sure she'll be there. I'll tell her to check it out. But yeah, the Weeklings.com, everything about Raspberry Park, where to get it, shows coming up, show this Friday night in Asbury Park. You got Dramarama playing, Joe Grishevsky and the House Rockers. Looks like it's going to be awesome at the Stone Pony. Classic place, man.
I want to play another track, Brian Jones. The song's really not about him, is it?
I don't know. You think? I think it is, but that's predominantly Bob, my cohort here.
Bob Berger.
And Bob Berger.
I know Bob.
Yes, he and I are the primary songwriters in the band. We also cover songs occasionally, but we also change the arrangements a lot. But yeah, Bob's a great songwriter, and we've been friends for years. And yeah, Brian Jones. You're gonna have to ask him if it's about Brian Jones.
Well, we'll leave it up to the listeners to decide. Here's Brian Jones from the Weeklings' new album, Raspberry Park. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Oh, yeah, vinyl. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Tell me, you got to tell me, you're coming back to me when I see hell freeze. Tell me, you cut that flesh right off the bone.
That's good.
This could be the last time, Brian Jones.
I love that.
Oh, there you go.
Brian Jones. Brian Jones.
Oh man, super cool. That's
Very different from like we used to do. It's got to be fun to play that live with all those harmonies happening.
Yeah, we're a singing band. You know, we do a lot of vocals and stuff.
You had the vinyl there. You held up during the song. That's the vinyl copy available. But Jem, look at that. There it is.
Yeah, when you, Maureen, if you're still listening, when you run out of the yellow vinyl, definitely do a repress in raspberry colored vinyl. I mean, that seems like a win-win.
I'm going to grab. I'm going to grab all. We were all these people checking in saying this is fantastic. They're going to buy this. They're buying this. They're buying this.
Hey, great. They should.
Yeah. This says I know Maureen was saying you're going to be at the Beatles on the beach. That's down with Florida.
Yes, Delray Beach.
Delray Beach.
That's a big deal. That's a big
deal.
one. That's next weekend. This weekend we're up here, but next weekend, well, actually, so Friday night I play with the Weeklings next Friday at this Beatles on the Beach thing. We open for Cheap Trick.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The next night, the Fab Four are playing, but I'm subbing for Will Lee, the bassist. So I'm playing Beatle music with the Fab Four, and they're the headliner the second night and Saturday night. And both nights, Friday and Saturday, the Weeklings are playing the after party at the Silver Ball Museum. So it's a big deal.
Big deal.
Really nice town. It's a great
with
town.
all the bands you're in and all the gigs you do. Do you ever wake up in a hotel somewhere forgetting where you are and who you're playing with?
Absolutely, it has happened. Yes, you know, you open your eyes and for a second it's like, where am I? And I have to say, there's been a lot of travel in my life, and particularly the orchestra. I've been with them all over the world, like, you know, Russia, Ukraine, Poland,
Wow.
South America, you know, just crazy all over. The Weeklings are going on a cruise.
I see that. It's it's the what is that? I saw it. The Blue Cruise.
Yeah, the Moody Cruise thing. Yeah.
Zombies, Alan Parsons, Starship, Little River Band, Al Stewart, Uriah Heep. Everybody's on here. Holy cow.
It's fun. These are great. They're great.
That's gotta be a gas just hanging out with everybody involved with all those acts. Jeez.
It is. It totally is. And you see some people that you haven't seen in years, but you still have a connection, like Randy Hansen. I'm a big Jimi Hendrix fan. Randy Hansen is probably the preeminent Hendrix impersonator for years. Incredible guitar player. And I met him when I was in Beatlemania. You know, it was like I was fake Paul, he was fake Jimmy, and now we see each other, you know, 50 years later or something, and we're still buddies, and we're, you know, comparing notes.
When you talk about subbing, you know, for Will Lee, obviously a fantastic bass player, and the Fab Four, you know, what a great tribute act, so to speak. When you bounce around it, and you could easily sub in for a different bass player here and there, do all the bands always play the songs in the same key, or are you transposing sometimes to something different because of the way they do it and sing it? Or
if I had my way, we would transpose, but no, most Beatle bands prefer to play on the original keys. However, what I learned in Beatlemania and Rain and
Mhm.
Weeklings, these Beatle acts that I've been with, is it's component Beatles. So you've got the bass player is always the guy singing the high Paul parts, and the rhythm guitar guy is always the guy singing the John Lennon parts, and the George, the lead guitarist is the George, and all of that. However, the Fab Four don't do it that way.
Right.
First of all, I think they're a 5 or 6 man group, but it's particularly work for me because there are some of the songs that I'll be playing Friday night at Beatles on the Beach with the Weeklings. I'm playing the next night with the Fab Four. The bass lines are the same, but the vocal parts are
Ah,
different.
Oh boy.
You jump to a vocal harmony no, that's not necessarily what Paul did, but it's what George sang in this song. And on that song, it's like, no, you're singing the John Lennon parts. So
wow.
vocally, it's that's a bit of a challenge, actually.
Sure.
But they're a great. The Fab Four is a great band.
They might be the most famous Beatles band around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they're excellent. They're excellent players that
Yeah.
do all kinds of other music as well. But would they come together to do Beatles? Yeah.
Yeah, they're top notch, top to bottom. Everybody's is so good in that band. I saw them with the Mike Smith tribute right after Mike had passed away. They did a thing up at BB King's in New York and
Yeah.
had the Zombies there and whatnot, and they were just spot on with everything. So I mean, it's got to be a lot of fun. But yeah,
It's a full-on show with costume changes and the whole bit, right?
No.
what the Fab Four? No, they're
Oh no.
no.
Oh, okay.
No, Weeklings too. The Weeklings don't dress up like Beatles, even though we are a 4-piece band and very
Yeah.
Beatle-ish in our roles generally. But yeah, no, it's not. It's not the Windy
Rain.
Turtle set or there's all kinds of stuff. I shouldn't say it, but Marshall refers to some of it as minstrel Beatles. But God bless them. God bless these bands. Actually, there's a whole new crew of young Beatle impersonators out there.
Yeah.
Who are great. The Fab Four. I think they're from Vegas or LA. These guys are very good. So it's. I think it's more appropriate if you're going to dress up and stuff. I'd rather see you in your 20s than in your 60s.
Well,
Glenn,
yeah.
have you played Beatle Week at the Cavern?
I've not.
Ooh, wow.
No, I'm not. I've been there, but I do play at the Fest for Beatles fans with the group Liverpool, and and so that's a convention that happens twice a year.
Yeah.
And I've played with the Weeklings and with the orchestra. I've played at Abbey Road on the river, which is
Nice.
out in Lexington, Kentucky or something. And wherever it is, but yeah, I have gotten a lot of Beatle work in my life. And then I've gotten, all kinds of other stuff too.
Oh, sure.
You
And
said you're in 7 bands. Please name them for us if you can.
If I can remember them. I have a show called The Summer of Love, which is a really big show, about 20 cast members, and we sing all songs from kind of the Woodstock generation.
Oh wow!
And that's a great blast because that's really the music for me when I was when I was growing up. I mean, that was the music that blew my mind. So that's one. Weeklings, Summer of Love, Liverpool, the orchestra, the New Jersey Hall of. I'm the musical director of the New Jersey Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? 5.
So yeah,
I'm spacing out. There's more. There's at least.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I figured you could rattle them off.
It's good exercise.
Well, Fab Four. He's gonna work with Fab Four, so that we'll throw that in there as well. But all this stuff we're talking about, just so everybody across the bottom of the screen, weeklings.com. It's a great website.
New album coming
you see
out
the
in
new
2
album,
days.
Raspberry Park CD, which is fantastic. David loves the CDs, and the vinyl on yellow vinyl.
You love
It
that
all
too?
comes from Gem Recordings. Look at that. How sweet is that? That's really nice.
But speaking
And,
of legends, on one of the tracks on this album, Mr. Soul Satisfaction, and I have to ask you about that one. You've got Peter Noon singing lead. How did that come about?
Peter.
Actually, Peter sang on another album of ours. This is our fourth album, I think. Our
Right.
fourth studio album.
For studio.
And we did a cover of the Easy Beats Friday on My Mind, and we
Mhm.
asked Peter to sing on it, and he did. He did such a great job. And so recently, I came up with this arrangement of a Buffalo Springfield song done in the style of the Rolling Stones, which Can't Get No Satisfaction. And so we cut the basic track, and we thought that Southside Johnny's voice would fit perfectly.
I love him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we reached out to Johnny, and he kept saying, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And then, but he never showed up. So,
Oh,
so one night, I think we were in Chicago, and Bob Berger, the rhythm guitarist and main collaborator in the Weeklings, was at a restaurant, and he saw Peter Noon over at another table, and Bob went over and said, me, and they were, they talked about the Weeklings song that he sang on, and Bob said, we've got this other one. You want to check it out? And so Peter, not only is he delightful and cooperative, there's no diva going on there, but it's also really good. Like, his voice is excellent still. And I love working with him. And I always say, like, the 9-year-old in me is flipping out working with the great Peter Noon, the great Herman of Herman's Hermits.
should we play that one, Glenn?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Did it.
You didn't have to do too much to reorient, because, when I heard the first time everyone heard Mr. Soul, they said, what is that riff? Oh, yes. So here we go. Mr. Soul Satisfaction by the
See if you can catch another Easter egg in this song too.
All right.
We'll do it.
Let's see if anybody chimes in, can catch it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
I was down on a frown when the messenger brought me a letter. I was raised by the praise of a fan who said I upset her. Any girl in the world could have easily known me better. She said, you're strange, don't change, and I let her.
Love it.
Yeah.
In a while, with a smile on my
Mike Nesmith once said Valerie was, quote, the worst record ever made. So, I disagree.
Yeah, what a great groove.
That was very cool. And I don't know that I would have even known it was Peter Noon had I not read it. Yeah, reading it and then hearing it, after the fact, it's like, yeah, that's him. But without that knowledge, because, man, he sings it with a lot of balls.
Oh, yeah.
He's great. His voice is incredible. I've seen him a couple times in recent years. And, man, I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
Now, Peter's just a great person. Period.
Let me just say that arrangement, and I hope this doesn't piss off Neil Young, but since he wrote it, but it's really what I was thinking was the Rolling Stones Satisfaction. It's got a riff, and that's the same rhythm. Well, hello, Mr. Soul.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then I was like, the Monkees.
Yeah.
Which, according to you, Peter, Mike Nesmith said was the worst record. I think it's
I
great.
read that quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that record.
Hey, look, Mr. Young, if you play with the bulls, you get the horns. So you're gonna rip off that riff, then yeah, somebody's gonna say something or do something about it. Both songs are amazing though, and this version as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The whole thing. Weeklings, brand new, Raspberry Park. Is it officially released Friday? Is that the official release date?
Yes.
So everybody can go on to weeklings.com and essentially pre-order. By the time it gets in the mail, you'll have it on release date.
Actually, they've gone out, or the pre-orders have gone out, and
good.
The records. So
good. We did kind of gloss over briefly. A good friend of mine out of Toronto, Bob Reed, who adopted one of my foster dogs. He asked thoughts on your time in Styx. You wrote for them. You recorded.
I was actually not going to ask about Styx because I actually think Helmet Boy is cooler, but might as well talk about it, right?
People like to
know.
know
More money. That's
well,
yeah. There's that.
There's that.
Then Helmet Boy.
Hard to believe. I know.
Hard to believe.
Anyway, go ahead.
Well, they had broken up. And then they decided to get back together 7 years later. And unfortunately, Tommy Shaw said, oops, I can't make it. I'm in a band called Damn Yankees. So, so they called me and they said, would you be interested in joining Styx? And at the time, I was raising a family. My solo career had just kind of come to an end with A&M. I left A&M Records, and it was like, arena rock band that with multi-platinum albums or playing bars in New Jersey. I think I'll go for the multi-platinum band, and they treated me well. I wrote the title track and the first single off the album the first album I did with them. And then Tommy came back. So I was out, and then their bass player got ill, Chuck Panazzo. So I was asked, could I play bass? So this was the second hat that I wore in that band.
Yeah.
But, and we, so it's a very interesting band because there's Styx with Dennis DeYoung, and there's Styx with Tommy Shaw, and it's one or the other, and I've been in both, and so it's just a funny little thing, and I've worn two different hats, but the thing is, I'm no star. I'm a working rock musician, and that's really what I am, and all of these things are different jobs, and we're talking about work, and I do enjoy it. I used to have a much more delicate ego about everything, but at this point in my life, I'm just like happy to every morning wake up and say, I got to work. I got a job to do today.
Yeah.
And I get to go places, and I get to stand on stage in front of adoring people, people that enjoy music. So you're absolutely right when you say I'm doing something great that people love.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? We all don't get any younger, and you have to stand there and you have to say, I'm in this moment. I'm enjoying the heck out of this moment. And this is not going to last forever. So there should always be a smile on your face when you're looking down there and seeing the smile on people's faces. And you're part of it. That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah. I applaud you, my friend. Working musician hard, but man, you're doing it so well. And on the brand new Weeklings album, Raspberry Park, man, everybody's got to go out and get this sucker. This is really a well done album. Jim Records, fantastic. Yeah.
I'd like to mention the other two guys in the band.
Yes.
John Rajavi, incredible singer and guitarist. His solo guitarist playing is exceptional, and he's got an amazing ear, and he's a very important part of this quartet. And then the other guy is our drummer, Joe Belia, who's an excellent drummer, and we're all New Jersey. Well, no, John lives in Brooklyn, but we're all locals relatively, and we all chip in on this Raspberry Park album.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of meeting the other guys when they came up to play International Pop Overthrow. You were probably somewhere with orchestra, so you weren't available, but I got to meet the rest of the guys, and really good people, and great players.
Cool.
Oh, what's the future hold for Glenn? More of the Weeklings tour. Looks like it's taking you through to at least the summer, but I would imagine you'll continue on past that. You'll continue with orchestra around the world.
Yeah, we have let's see. Okay, so Friday I'm playing at the Stone Pony with the Weeklings. Saturday, I'm playing with Max Weinberg. That's one of the bands.
Oh, there you go.
Box. So
wow.
That's another band. Playing with him Saturday at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank.
Yep.
So this weekend is big because our single, All the Cash in the World, is being released, and our video is being unveiled on YouTube, the new single and the new video. And then let's see, I've got a lot of interviews. The Beatles on the Beach next weekend.
Right. Yeah.
They said with both the Fab Four and the Weeklings. And then there's a Beatles symposium at Monmouth College with May Pang and Jim Babchick, the Smithereens, a bunch of.
Oh yeah, Jim's on our show.
Yeah, great. Then the Fest for Beatles fan in February with Liverpool, and Mickey Dolenz will be there. We play with him, Lawrence Juber, Billy J. Kramer, and that's taking place at the TWA terminal, which is where the Beatles landed.
Oh yeah.
And now it is no longer a terminal. It is a hotel and a meeting area, and that's where the Beatle Fest is going to take place.
I was going to say, is this the first time it's being held there?
Yes.
Because it was in East Rutherford, right, for so many years. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Any plans to come out to LA, the LA area?
Well, we've done it. They've done it a number of times in LA, but I guess it's been a while, and maybe the business isn't as good out there. I don't know. It's a big undertaking. The convention,
Indeed.
Town Crier in Beacon, New York,
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
mentioned, and the orchestra at Epcot, Weeklings on the Blue Cruise. Then the Weeklings also do horns and strings shows where we play with small orchestras, and
nice.
we have one of those coming up in April. Summer of Love show in April. The Weeklings play Jim Thorpe, PA, and more.
Oh yeah, you're up at the Mock Chunk Opera House. That's a great venue.
It is, and
Yeah,
I love Jim Thorpe. I think it's amazing. You know,
I went whitewater rafting there one time and nearly didn't make it.
it's scary.
I didn't know what I was doing. They put me in the back of the raft because the back person's supposed to be strong and big. I'm 6'3", and you kind of direct everything.
Right.
We no more got in the water and hit a big rock about 50 yards in. I fell off the back and spent the next mile and a half bouncing around the highest swells they had
my
seen
God.
in 20 years until a canoe could fly up and get me.
Wow.
Then they catch up to the raft, get you back in, and you still got 6 hours to go because you go forever, and you wake up the next day with muscles hurting that you didn't even know you had. And it takes you about a week. I was like, and you're dressed like a solid gold dancer in a wetsuit that 1,000 other people have been in prior to you, probably very scared.
Yeah.
Imagine
That's got to be more painful than falling down a flight of stairs. See what I did there?
Yeah.
But anyhow, Jim
Wow.
Thorpe's a great area. That the Opera House is very cool. So that's a great gig coming
Can
up.
I tell a story about Jim Thorpe?
Yeah.
Sure.
The story is that Jim Thorpe was a great Native American athlete who was an Olympiad. He won some gold medals and stuff for the United States, and then they had to take him away because there was a rule back then that if you had been a professional athlete, you're not allowed to be in the Olympics. They've changed that since. But anyway, when he died, I guess his family was poor or something, and they really didn't know. They didn't have money to bury him, and so some promoter guy came up with this concept of who wants to bury the body of Jim Thorpe in their town and make it into a tourist attraction. And so Mao Chunk, Pennsylvania won that. Maybe it was a auction or something. Yeah. But they won it, and his body was shipped there, and there is a mausoleum there where you can go see where this guy who never set a foot in that town while he was alive is buried. So Jim Thorpe is a town named after a guy that was never there.
Never there.
Wow.
I like that story.
That's
professional football player and baseball player.
Yeah.
The story is that he was quite a drinker. He and Hall of Fame shortstop Rabbit Marinville one time were so drunk they were hanging out in the trees. Jim Thorpe yelled, "I'm Tarzan," and Rabbit Marinville said, "I'm Little Tarzan," and they both fell out of the tree.
Wow.
Because they were bombed out of their tree.
There was a movie, but yeah, they didn't depict any of that.
No, I didn't think so.
So someone chimed in and said the Weeklings CD release party is at Light of Day.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
That's
Because
right.
we've had a couple of people asking where the release party is. So
well, it's at the Stone Pony, but it's for the Light of Day Foundation.
Light of Day Foundation at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park.
So it's really a fundraiser for Parkinson's disease and other affiliated diseases. And there's a lot of great acts. Dramarama's playing. And, a lot of other really,
Joe Grishesky at House Rockers. They kill. So it's going to be great. Man, you got a lot going on, and what a fantastic album you got here, Raspberry Park. Congratulations on it. Really, really well done. And
thanks.
And
thank you so much for appearing, Glenn. We really appreciate it, and I hope to meet you sometime, Helmet Boy or otherwise.
Amazing. Amazing. You know,
Well, you
you two guys, that means there's maybe 6 people in the whole universe that know that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you got a bunch of shows coming up. I'm hoping to get to one here because I'm in New Jersey myself. So that'd be great. But we appreciate you being here. Best of luck with this great new album, Raspberry Park, down at weeklings.com. Go get the vinyl and the CD. Be the first on your block to have it and play it loud because it's really worth it. Thank you, Maureen. Gem Records. Yep.
Yes.
Gem Records and
thank you
Maureen.
as well.
Yeah, everybody checking in. This is great.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, Glenn, have a great night. Be safe. Best wishes with everything coming up you got going on. Make sure you take the right wardrobe to the right show because I'd hate for you to mess that up. Have a great night.
Thank you so much.
See you, Glenn.
No,
Well, there you have it, man. Wow, that was a lot of fun. Man.
Yep. The Weeklings Raspberry Park coming out on Friday on Gem Records, and definitely pick one up on CD and or vinyl. There you go.
Did you play all the tracks you had uploaded? Oh,
I didn't get to. I was going to play April's Fool partially because the Merrymakers, as we all know,
I'd love to hear a little bit of that. Why don't we play a little bit?
Why not? Yeah, no reason why we can't. Here we go. Let's go pull this up here. Where did I put it?
The Weeklings, Raspberry Park.
April's Fool. Here we go.
Dressed to the nines, you were so out of my league. She said it's alright, boy, won't you come home with me? And I thought that I was king, thought that I was cool, but I found out I was only April's fool. Yeah, April's fool. Like a ton of bricks, she dropped me. I went down so hard. Around her finger, wrapped like blue and Korean.
That's good stuff. Weeklings.com.
I found out I was only April's fool.
All right. Well, yeah. So there you
That was
have
great,
it.
man. Yeah, that was April's Fool. We played 4 tracks off the album tonight, and each one all killer, no filler, as they
Yeah,
say.
and all very different from each other. So yeah, this is definitely a wide-ranging album. We've got lots of cool guests coming up on Material
What's going
Issues
on?
next week. And I mentioned the Corgis earlier because they were on Asylum at the same time as Helmet Boy. But we're going to have a couple of members of that band. Original member James Warren, who also was one of the main men of Stackridge, another great band from the UK, as well as Al Steele, who's a current member of Corgis. And it's great that those guys are back together, and they've got a couple of albums coming out this year. One will be out around the time of next week's interview. It's called the Blue Album. And later in the year, of course, they're going to have the Red Album. And I've heard some of the Blue Album tracks, and they are excellent. James is still in good voice. I mean, the whole thing sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So we'll be having them on. It'll be 2 hours earlier than usual, though.
4 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
To accommodate them in the UK. So we will be on at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 Eastern, and 9 o'clock UK time for that one. The following week, we're going to have, speaking of people who are sort of coming back, I don't know if they're going to play any live shows, but it would be great if they did.
Yeah.
Here's a new reissue. Although I say reissue, but this stuff was previously unreleased, by a duo called Peach and Lee, and it's on Reminder Records. One of my favorite reissues of last year. Tons of tracks, I think around 25 or so, and they're so Beatles Badfinger-esque, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just excellent stuff. Look for that Peach and Lee album. Arliss Peach was also the main man of the band Arliss, who were on Titan Records.
Yep.
And big shout out to Tom Sorrell of Titan Records who set up this interview. But we're going to have both Peach and Lee, Arliss Peach and Larry Lee, on Material Issues at our regular time on January 31st.
That's going to be awesome too, man.
And yes, and then 2 weeks later on Valentine's Day, we revisit Gem Records with one of the true power pop icons. I don't think anyone would argue this at all. Mr. Paul Collins.
Yep.
From the Nerves and the Beat and all his solo stuff. And he has a new record coming out as well.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about that one. Hopefully I'll have a copy, or we will have copies in hand that we can show and play from on the 14th. But yes, yeah, it would be nice to have a CD of that. Maybe we'll speak with Jeremy Thompson of Reminder and see if he can release a CD. But excellent stuff. So anyway, on the 14th we have Paul Collins, and as always, lots of other irons in the fire.
I mean, that's just that's 3 of the next 4 weeks. Are you kidding me? How crazy is that? You gotta join us every Wednesday. Let everybody know. Tell your friends. Share materialissues.com on YouTube. Join us on Facebook. The more the merrier. We loved it. We love to see all the comments and all of our friends talking about everything. So spread it around. We have a good time here, and we have the best guests of anybody.
We really do. We're very, very fortunate to be able to get such good guests. And it helps that you and I are such music geeks, because we get guests that, yeah, there you go. We have guests that maybe other people wouldn't have on their show because they're unaware of the music. Yeah. But we know who they are, and we love bringing them back to the forefront, as it were.
Indeed.
And it's always so much fun. And
it really is. And I think everybody who's even here joining us right now, they can attest to how much fun we have here. This is great. Yeah, Peach and Lee released on CD. I know we need that. We need that.
It's great to hear that stuff. And I know we're a relatively small group, but the CD is still alive. And obviously, a lot of people are opting for vinyl, and vinyl is very, very cool as well.
One thing I wanted to ask you though, when we talk about CDs are still vital and whatnot.
Yes.
Would you? And I agree. We talked last week about band. What was this? This is Armchair Oracle's great new CD.
Yeah.
But so many CDs, and this is no cut because I had a record label as well, but it's less expensive to put them in the plastic cases. But man, I think if more labels put more time into doing the cardboard almost album like
the digipacks,
and make it more of a neat collectible thing to have physically. That's just my little pet peeve. I did most of mine on Pop Detective in digipacks and bifolds and trifolds and things like that.
Because Cool Cat, who that's also true. Vinyl is very, very expensive. I mean, bands are really taking a chance doing vinyl because they have to spend a lot of money.
Thank you, Tim.
And they may not recoup it. I mean, it's very cool to release it that way, but it's a money loser for a lot of people, unfortunately.
It is.
But getting back to your point, I mean, obviously this Weeklings album is done,
and I love it. Look at that. It's like
it really is nice. To cut Cool Cat a little bit of slack, they're releasing a lot of stuff.
I know it is no cut on Ray. I love Ray, and he releases.
I mean, it'd be hard. It would be very difficult for them to put the time and effort into releasing all this stuff on Digipack.
Right.
I mean, we're fortunate that they're releasing so much stuff that's great. I mean,
if it came down to him releasing it or not, I'd rather just have the plastic and release it.
An amazing start with Armchair Oracles and Emperor Penguins, and then Wesley Fuller from Australia, who's going to be a guest on our show on a date TBA, but he's got a new record coming out on Cool Cat, and it's amazing as well. So I mean, he's releasing some great stuff. But yeah, I agree. Digipacks are nicer, no doubt about it. And we went, IPO went from the
Yeah.
3-disc case in plastic to a Digipack, and
And it's gorgeous.
even
Yeah,
though it's
great.
more expensive, make no mistake, we're really happy that we've done it that way.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
No,
yeah,
it's just-
obviously,
It's just my
if you
little
can
thing.
do
I
it-
think.
no, I mean, hey, if you're a band and you can do it, then yeah, by all means, Digipacks are preferable to your standard plastic jewel case. But we're happy to have the music on physical product.
Period.
I mean,
Yeah, that's the
these
bottom
days,
line. Yeah.
so many bands are just doing digital, and just frustrating to weed collectors for
Yeah.
sure. We really want to have something physical, and if vinyl is too expensive, then do CDs. They're not expensive at all, and you don't have to do. I mean, in the past, you had to do runs of 1,000, which are cost prohibitive for a lot of bands. But these days, you can do a run of 50.
Yeah,
and
and you know what's even disappearing these days? It's been a couple of years now, but desktops, laptops that do not have the built-in CD burners anymore.
That's for
So if you do buy the digital album and download it, you either have to put it on an MP3 player to carry it around, or if you don't have a CD burner to burn it, you got to put it on some sort of SD card or something.
Right.
Otherwise, you're in danger of losing it if your computer dies or you buy something new. So,
and also streaming services, you never know when they're going to be done. I mean, Bandcamp is going to be changing their model, as we know, and it may not be to the benefit of buyers or artists. One day we could wake up and suddenly Spotify's illegal.
Yep.
Which I know would make some artists very happy because they don't pay. But on the other hand, there won't be places to stream. And everybody who sold their collection because they knew, they felt they could stream it on these services, they're going to really be bummed that they no longer can do it. So, physical product is, in my opinion, the way to go and always will be. So,
yeah, indeed.
Anyway.
Well, what a great night. Great night.
Really
nice hanging out with you, David. Great guest and Glen Burtnik, the Weeklings, weeklings.com. Get out there in Gem Records and buy that CD, buy that vinyl. It's a beautiful piece of vinyl, too, in yellow vinyl. So
thank you again to Gem, to Marty and Maureen. And everyone have a great rest of your week and weekend. And hopefully we'll see you next week with the Corgis. Don't forget, 2 hours earlier than usual, but
1 p.m.
on Wednesday.
Everybody have a great night. We'll see you next Wednesday. If you're over here on the East Coast, stay warm. Out on the West Coast, go to the beach. Have a good one, everybody.
Not quite.
Thank you, Tim. Good night, everybody.